it's actually because of this video that I watched last night, and that's what I wanted to really talk about, because it reconfirmed a lot of things that I've been learning anyway around the immune system and whatnot. So I'd love to talk about that, and you know, how fear, so again, I love Bruce Lipton. I feel like I've said it like 1,000 times. He's just brilliant. And he has this video around coronavirus and then so much more. And he was actually talking about how fear stops the immune system from working, just literally shuts down the immune system. And it does so because the fear within our cells, it actually closes off our cells and puts us in this, you know, really tense mode, which, you know, I know we've talked about fight or flight, which I'd love for you to share, you know, and like that love frequency is what actually opens up our cells and allows for, you know, our bodies to really just build that immune system. So when we have fear from where, you know, everything we're getting from like media and whatnot, well, what's that going to do other than just causing us to be more susceptible to getting not just coronavirus, but really any disease, period?
One of the, and I want you to talk a little bit more about the two frequencies, because those are really important. I mean, I know they're frequencies, but these two in particular, the fear frequency and the love frequency, because I feel like they're both strong in their own right? Mm-hmm. And then as you explain that, I think it will make it a lot more clear to people as to why it's so important to bring different frequencies into our lives, right? And the fear frequency is also important. It isn't that it's not important. Obviously, it's our natural, the human's natural response to life, right? And it's directly correlated with cortisol, the hormone for survival. However, this hormone for survival is also the hormone that causes severe anxiety in humans. So as humans, when we experience anxiety, it's because cortisol is released and pumped into the body, right? And that normally happens when we experience some type of fear or shock, for example. Like if you're driving and you hear cars, tires roll, right, and squeak, your heart starts pounding and your breaths get shorter, and that's because this hormone pumped and basically creates alertness in us to pay attention, right? Well, when we go into that state of alertness to pay attention, our mind stops thinking about anything else. The only thing that the human brain is then at that point capable of is survival, right? So we do whatever it takes to survive. Okay?
Absolutely.
So if you can imagine that, then you can imagine that anything else, any other frequency is like put on hold then. So once all the other frequencies are put on hold, what happens is that we get to a place where if you were in some type of recovery, that goes on hold. If you were in some sort of high energy engagement with somebody, that goes on hold. You can't even concentrate to, have conversations anymore at that point, right? And then the last thing that I want to say about this is that then it takes the body a long time to calm down from this state, right? So right now, because we're so bombarded with terrible news really on a daily basis, right? Like even when they say, well, such and such state reached its peak, right? And that's supposed to be like good news, right? But even then it's not, because that means the number of people who have contracted the virus has gone up, the number of people who died has gone up. However, quote unquote, we've reached our peak, so this is good news. So even our good news is still extremely anxiety provoking, right?
Totally. Yeah, because this virus is being associated to death. And it's like, so people, it's a flu, right? It's still a flu virus. It's just more extreme. And this is, again, the more I'm like learning about it, that's really what it comes down to. But people are associating it with death, which creates this fear. And the fear frequency really, it brings our vibration really down. And, I love what you shared about the stress hormone, because like that is actually how as humans we're designed, right? So our immune system, the whole purpose behind it is a defense mechanism within our body. And then we have the adrenal system, right? Which is the, stress hormone and all that. And it's to protect us on the outside. And the whole thing around it was like, let's say a tiger, what is it? Like the saber-tooth tiger or whatever was like chasing after us. Then we would go into fight and flight mode. And just like you said, when we're in that mode, nothing else matters because, hey, who cares if we have a flu or anything else when we're being chased by a tiger? Because if that tiger gets us, then it doesn't matter anyway. So their body shuts down. And then, yeah.
Oh, and then, forget anything that you're doing to help your immune system at that point when you bombard yourself with this vibration, this frequency that's so low.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you balance it? So it's so incredibly important right now that we completely limit the amount of information and become extremely selective as to where we're going to get our news from, right? Absolutely. And how do we want to, because it is absolutely important for us to recognize that we need to be up to date with the news. We need to know what's going on. It's important. It's really important for us to have that information as well. However, to be extremely selective and to be completely aware of the fact that too much of this actually harms us rather than helps us, right, is important. And I think
because just to add to that, because we're not meant to be in a fear state for more than, because the way our bodies have been designed, it's like, okay, like how often do we, yes, I get it. Back in the day, we'd get chased by tigers or, saber-tooths or whatever. But for how long? Maybe like a couple hours in a week or something like that. Whereas right now we're being bombarded by all kinds of fear-feeding activity when it comes to news, media, and everything. So so many people are in constant state of fear, and it closes down our cells within our body to defend our body and really have its own immune system. Whereas the love frequency is now scientifically proven that it heals our body and it actually opens up the cells. And that's why it's like, do what you can to feel good. Do what you can that makes you happy and joyful, because all of that is going to be love frequency.
Yeah. So perhaps we should identify 4 practices that brings the love frequency up. So dancing is one,
Absolutely.
right? Dancing with people that you care about and you love is one, right? Social connection is another one. Let's engage in conversations and happy conversations with people that we love, right? Okay. What's, tell me.
So I would say, any kind of movement, really, any kind of activity where you can, do some
physical activity, like
physical
sport,
activity, I think makes a huge difference. And then creativity, creating something that you enjoy, because that not only is great for the creative mind, but it actually allows you to really just enjoy what you're creating too. Just getting creative, having some kind of a, project or whatnot that you're working on and looking at creating for yourself. I think those are really great too.
So those are, that's what kind of takes the brain out of the state of fear. It creates connection, which is important for the vibration and the frequency of love, and which inevitably leads to a better immune health.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think what that does is, and I think this is really important to talk about as well, is that when that frequency is high, our body is much more accepting of healing. That's what's really important. It's not like it heals on its own. It becomes accepting of whatever healing that needs to take place, right? It's open to it. It's not fighting it. It's not shut off to it. It's not, rejecting it.
Yeah, and it's also our thoughts too, because it's what our thoughts are is what ends up getting, that's quantum physics, which I'm not going to get into right now. To be another daily tip. But that's a huge piece of it, absolutely. So
yeah,
but yeah,
great, yeah. I think this one is a really, really important one.
Very.